Hey guys, welcome to the Giovanni
and Sara
podcast.
You are listening to Griffin Radio. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate it so much.
We have been getting positive feedback from our previous podcast with our special guests, Alex Lavanos and Thomas Meyer.
So thank you for your continuous support as we quarantine together at home.
And speaking about special guests, you may have heard talk about our next special guest right here on our program today.
He is a local disc jockey and radio personality here in San Diego.
So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, from Local Media San Diego and Z90.3 FM, host of the Phone Jibba with Adina and D-Rock in the mornings, here is the one and only Rick Morton. Woohoo!
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yay!
This is great. I'll tell you, this is only the second podcast I've ever done.
Oh my God.
Besides, our own, but that's just doing the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with us.
So how have you been?
Good. We've been doing Morton in the morning every day. We're still doing the show. We kind of figured we hadn't really been quarantined from each other because we've been in the same room this whole time, so might as well just keep showing up every day. I mean, we are 6 feet apart just by nature of the furniture in the studio. So in that sense, we are socially distanced, but in fact, Tony's in another room, and that has nothing to do with COVID.
It's always been that way, I guess.
Yeah, it was before COVID. He likes to think that he's got his own palace. Like, okay, that's cool. You think that?
I mean, the studio's small. Like, we've been there before because we're interns there, and we're still technically interning.
Right. We can't wait for you to get back. It's awful not having you guys there. It's always fun, like, coming out in the hall after our show and seeing people that are, like, enthusiastic, upbeat, good to go with their own ideas. It's really fun. I love it.
I miss you guys so much. I miss interning there.
Aw, me too.
Yeah, we feel the same way.
So how have you been handling all of the quarantine with all of this coronavirus situation?
It's funny. I'll tell you. So if you're going to do even a podcast, you feel some sense that you need to be responsible enough to not sound like an idiot, right?
Right.
So, and especially if you're doing a live radio broadcast and you know that people are driving into whatever their essential job is, you don't want to be throwing out snake oil theories that, one, either give them hope or, two, unnecessarily scare them.
Right.
So that's been the hard part of doing a radio show, trying to navigate giving enough information without saying things that are, ridiculous, but at the same time injecting your opinion into it, but not so much that you seem like a jerk. So it's a dance for sure.
Wow. Yeah, definitely.
The things seem to change hour to hour. And I think if you want to believe something, whether this is not dangerous, it's super dangerous, whatever you want to believe, there's a place for you where you'll find people that agree and are going to give you information to back that up.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How are you guys doing? I mean, I think it's maybe harder if your life is just staying at home because I've been going to work. My life hasn't changed remarkably that much.
It's a little different. I mean, living up in Julian, it's kind of like better for me because I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's so much different doing podcasts for our radio station, much more than being live on the air and doing our show, which we, have commercials and we have music in between.
Yeah.
And now we're on YouTube, so YouTube gets on us for copyright stuff, so we have a whole hour of just us talking. So it's like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? So yeah.
In that respect, it's good because it will train you to figure out how to segue. That's the hardest thing. It's not hard to get on and talk about something. It's hard to get on and talk about something, then move on to something else without it being awkward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it teaches you to be a better listener because at some point in time, you're going to run out of stuff to say, and you really need to learn to respond to somebody else. And that's the real talent, going, what are they saying instead of what am I going to say next?
Right. Before we do our podcast, like I have like a rundown of things that like bullet points that I want to say. And then from there, I like exaggerate and I pretty much ad lib through all of that. But at the same time, with background research and what I know so far with whatever topic that I'm going to talk about.
Right. I find one thing that helps me a lot is icing my nipples right before we go on the air. I put some ice on my nipples, and that'll keep you alert. Hey, you know what? Try it. Don't knock it. You don't know yet. You're like, man.
Okay, I'll try it.
I'm wide awake. I am focused.
Right here. Yeah.
Poor Sarah. She can't even help it. She's like,
oh my God.
It's not that great. I've tried.
my gosh.
Can you even say that on it's college. You guys can say whatever you want, right?
Well, it's on YouTube, so.
Yeah, except cursing.
I think YouTube, listen, trust me, if that gets you kicked off YouTube, most of YouTube needs to be taken down, right?
True.
I mean, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, in terms of you guys doing an hour podcast, and you're in the middle of this, do you find it better? Are you still laughing about the ice? I'm not going to say that again. Okay.
No, you're good.
Do you find sometimes it's hard to give your opinion because you know it's going to make somebody mad?
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel that. You know, honestly, I try to stay away from controversial stuff, though I am on the radio and I feel like it's my job to report the cold hard facts, but I try to come from a middle standpoint where I don't pick a side and I just report the facts that need to be given.
Well, for me, when I talk about something, I try to be as neutral and as partisan as possible.
Right.
Without being like too, I'm not really opinionated. I'm more of like, okay, this is what's happening, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And then I just lay down the line. And, you know, like in my last podcast, I talked about, of course, like, I try to avoid politics as much as possible.
Which is nearly impossible because this is almost a politically based thing.
Right.
Because it's a politically imposed situation in a sense that we're all self-distancing. The people running it are our officials who are, by their nature, politicians.
Right.
So how do you approach that without being political? Because I'll be frank with you. I think a lot of people have extremely strong feelings, one way or the other, and are afraid. Even as I'm talking to you right now, if I said, hey, what do you really, really think? What do you really think? You're going to be nervous for a second going, well,
yeah.
Like say it. What do you really think? Is this that dangerous or is it not? Did everybody already kind of have it and they're not telling us? I mean, the governor issued an order saying nobody can go to the beaches. And then today tells San Diego, well, you guys can. Which makes you think, well, wait a minute. Does that mean that all of a sudden we are going to be in a situation where everyone from Orange County is coming down here?
Right.
What's going to happen? It all seems like everyone's making it up as they go, whether you watch the president, the governor, or even a mayor. And that's truly what I feel like. I don't think anyone really knows anything for sure.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like I don't really know who to believe anymore, to be honest with you.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, who do I trust?
Yeah.
Right. That's why I sell Mentos online. I'm like, hey, I don't know if it works. I'm not saying it works, but they're delicious. So it's no better than anything else we have right now. So why not have something delicious? Mentos.
Definitely.
Yes. This broadcast brought to you by the Fresh Maker. Mentos.
Oh my God, I love those.
See?
I love the colored ones, the multicolored Mentos.
Yeah. If you got a quarantine, why not do it with a fresh European breath mint?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but honestly, like, tell me, what goes through your mind if you're going to speak candidly? And let's say this. Let's take politics off the table. What in your heart do you think when you wake up in the morning? Are you in danger of walking out the door, catching this and dying? Or are you going to be fine? And what's really going on?
I personally believe that the coronavirus is a stronger, more influential version of the flu. You know, where symptoms can hide, but someone could possibly have it and not know, which makes it really scary.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm going to care about it for the sake of the people I care about and respect the laws, like social distancing, so my friends don't get sick, my parents, my grandparents. I don't get it, so I don't infect anyone else. I am not really too worried about it, but I am careful about whatever I do.
Now, do you know the number of people that died of the flu last year in the United States? As we approach over 60,000.
Was it about 60? Yeah, 60,000?
So
Yeah.
60,000 have died of coronavirus, or, the numbers will change by the time this podcast is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
80,000 died of the flu last year, and that's with the flu, what they call the vaccine. It's really a treatment.
Right.
So we haven't surpassed the flu last year yet. Now they say by the end of summer, it's likely, projections show 100,000. We still don't know because there was a projection that 2 million would die and they revised it. Other people projected, 20,000 people die, will be good. And they were wrong. So nobody knows. However, we haven't yet reached the point at which 2019 saw people die of the flu. So it's interesting to see where we're at. We're not yet more dangerous than the flu. But by the end of the year, if 200,000 people have died, certainly we are.
Right, we're not sure of anything. G, what do you think?
I'm alert, not anxious. That's what I have to say. I'm not all too worried about it, but I am cautious about what I touch and constantly washing my hands. Like now, I heard that's going to be mandatory to wear a mask out in public. I think starting tomorrow, from what I've heard. So I think right now we just need to be cautious, like what we've always been doing with prevention of the flu. And it's just that I think people are just panicking too much, and they need to relax and take it down a notch.
Yeah.
In what sense do you think that?
The toilet paper situation and all that.
Okay, so the rush on stores and the people. I had someone yell at me the other day because I had a mask on, but it wasn't on my face because I was getting stuff out of my truck in front of my house. And I had pulled it down for a second, and they're like, "You're supposed to have a mask." I was like, wow. I don't tend to internalize those things. I just kind of go, wow, that's a strong reaction.
Yeah, but you were at your own home, so...
Yeah, and I certainly wasn't within 6 feet of anybody. But I think that's part of the hard part, is to see that there's hysteria around it.
Right.
Yeah.
That people, and understandably, because if you know someone that's died, maybe now your fear goes up a notch.
Yeah, that's true, or have somebody at risk.
It's certainly, in my lifetime, nothing I've ever even seen close to this ever happened. And could never have, I would have said there's absolutely no way they would shut down this country for 6 weeks. And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
It is interesting. There are states that do not have stay-at-home orders at all.
Yeah.
And have practiced social distancing and have the same exact rates per capita of infection that we have in the other states.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to be like one of the last states to open up because of our population density. As opposed to North Dakota.
Right.
Where they're probably going to open first, like one of the first to be open. So, I mean, because their houses are already far apart from each other. And so they've always been socially distant.
Hey, listen, it's their moment to shine for tourism. Like, come to South Dakota. We're open.
Yeah. Right.
It's their moment. We don't have anything, but we're open. Come have jerky. Yeah.
Yeah. Come by, have some corn with us.
Yeah. Come on. Let's pop some corn. We can.
Yeah. Some potatoes and all that.
I do think that people feel confused, and the confusion is what leads to anger.
Yeah.
I don't think protests are sensible, because I think it just makes more people angry, and at this point isn't accomplishing something, because there's a medical issue in the way of that. Mm-hmm. It's more than being unhappy about something, Yeah. And so now you confuse the subject even more. I mean, just this conversation we're having, I know in the back of your minds, you're like, man, what did I say? How's this going to be taken? Do I want to put this out there? It's scary.
It is.
Do you feel, let me ask you a deeper question. Do you feel that this weakens your ability to own your rights as an American citizen, the freedom to assemble? Do you feel like that's been eroded because we can so quickly give it away in a medical emergency?
G?
It's a tough question to ponder, because we do have the right to move freely.
Right.
We do have the right to come and go as we please, as long as we're not breaking the law, right?
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, just let people do what they want to do, but it's their call. So if they catch the virus, it's on them.
They catch it.
Now, enough of those people, if they get it, and that becomes a larger issue, then can you still do that? And if you can't, how do you control that?
Right.
Right. The one thing that does make me curious is we really don't ever see any strong emphasis put on, let's find who's already had it.
True.
Let's find it. As if everybody in America hasn't had it and we're all just waiting. If you were in a room full of 1,000 people that had it and 10 people that didn't, you wouldn't quarantine that room. You'd quarantine those 10 people.
Right.
But if you were in a room where 900 people hadn't had it and 100 people had, you'd let them go free. But really, you'd probably lock the whole thing down just to be safe.
Exactly.
And so really the metric isn't who has it or who doesn't have it. It's who has already recovered from it, and is it safe for them to get on with their life. Mm-hmm. If we knew right now that 38 million Californians had already had it, there'd be no reason to lock the state down, because they have 2 million people that needed quarantine.
Right.
So in any given situation, the most important metric is who has already had it, and are they at danger of getting it again? That should be the quickest thing. But
priority.
I think out of this, hopefully we'll have a better infrastructure for being able to test quickly and get answers that prevent something like this.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's an easy test run. It could have been a lot worse. Could have been Ebola or something truly devastating.
Yeah, it could have. If this was really like a really bad situation, then a lot more people would have died already, you know? But a lot of people, yeah.
You would think that there would at least be a surge on the West Coast since we're the closest ports to China and we have a lot of travel from China through our cities.
Right, yeah, through Hawaii and then through California. And
right? So you would think that those would be the first New Yorks, and yet they haven't been. We don't know the reasons why. We'll have to figure that out, or maybe it's coming and we don't know.
No.
Hey, real quick question. This isn't a comedy podcast, right?
It could be anything.
Because, man, did it take a bad
no, it can be anything. It can
variety.
It's a variety show, yeah.
Worst comedy podcast of the year.
No, you're good. It's about anything.
The rules are off the table.
Exactly. We talk about a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, that's good. What are you guys thinking about lately?
Well, just school.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do the first day that we're allowed to get out, and when this is all over, if it is over, at some point, I'm thinking about what am I gonna do. Okay, I think I'm gonna get a haircut first. I mean, the salons and the barbers are closed, so
I'm gonna eat 3 entrees from TGI Fridays and then throw up in the bathroom there and then walk out
heck
America.
yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
goals right there.
Yeah, it's a plan. Hey, listen, we all have hobbies. It's okay.
There you go.
So what exactly for school sets you back? Because it would seem like so much of it you could do online.
In our radio class, our emphasis was more in the studio, you know? So we did learn about podcasts, and we learned how to make a podcast, and it came quicker, I think, than it would normally do if we were still in class. But our professor did prepare us for the concept of it, but he didn't really get into the details like editing it. And, you know, now G and I are in charge of putting it on YouTube, going from audition to premiere, giving it kind of a video aspect, something in the background so it's not just all talking. And a lot is going into the easiest job.
Yeah.
So recording a podcast, sure, easy peasy. You talk for an hour, you have a conversation, but then it's going back and editing it that takes so long. And especially now, us in quarantine, you're not in the same room anymore. You are separate places, and it requires a lot more editing to it.
Yeah, this is definitely something that we had not anticipated, but I think our instructor prepared us very well for this situation. So I applaud him for that. So good for him on his end. But it's been going well lately, and I'm very proud of what we've done, of what we accomplished as a team, as a cohesive radio station.
Yeah, we've done a good job.
I just, I applaud everyone behind the scenes, like making this happen despite the current situation that we're having right now. I think the only problem that we're having is the Wi-Fi. That's like the number one thing. Like if someone's lagging on their end and we have a guest on our show, if they're lagging on their end and we can't hear what they're saying, we just nod yes. It's okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary. You're like, yes, I love Yahtzee. I play it all the time. You're like, oh, that's great. Wait, what did you say?
No, I play Uno. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just the Wi-Fi, but everything else we have all the resources that we need to make our projects and turn them in. So.
Wait. Now I have a question for you guys. Is it okay for me to ask you guys questions? And
You're fine. Yeah. You're good.
for you guys individually, each of you, tell me. I don't know who wants to start. What's the dream? Like your man, if I could, when I first started in my business, my dream, which it's not that now, but my dream at that time was like, man, I would love to have Jimmy Kimmel's job. I think that would be amazing. So he started in radio about when I did. I think I'll start and try it. And then I realized not that many people watch those shows anymore, and those hosts never look like their lives are that fun. So I'm like, maybe that's not for me. Where are you guys right now? What's your dream? Like, okay, here's the end goal.
Go on, G. Tell him.
Well, for me, I Well, my dream, I wanted to work initially with, like, I never knew I was going to get into radio, and I never knew this was going to be my interest. And when I started taking radio classes at Grossmont, I started having a love for it. But before that, I was into journalism, and I wanted to be a photojournalist for the news.
Oh, wow.
Because I love cameras, and I love, news gathering, and I love breaking news, and I just love to get out there and, report to the people.
Exciting.
And so, like, that's still what I want to do. I'm trying to find my forte, so to speak. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do, because there's so much in the world of, like, media communications that, there's radio, there's TV, there's the newspaper, there's all kinds of media that you can get into, and it's hard to narrow it down. But, my goal is within that realm of my career path, and I think radio is definitely, like, one of the top goals up there, because, like, I truly enjoy this. Like, I genuinely love doing what we're doing now with podcasting, and with us interning at the station. That was definitely an experience that I'll never forget.
Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Before getting into radio, I was doing paper for the Summit, which was our Grossmont newspaper. And, and that's what I always wanted to go into. I wanted to go into, being in a magazine, or, being a journalist, being a writer, which I still want to do. But like G said, we had a TV class. I took the TV class. I said, wow, this is awesome. Maybe I can work at the news someday. Took radio. Said, oh man, I can be a radio DJ. Came to the station. I'm like, geez, this would be fun to do. This would be fun to be a DJ and come on the air and have co-hosts and talk about a variety of things and, have people listen to us. And so, same, I'm in that career path, whatever comes my way. I feel like I have all the knowledge that if somebody says, okay, Sarah, there's an opening as a magazine writer, you want to go for it? I can say, yep. I know exactly what to do. I know my AP style writing. Or if somebody says, okay, Sarah, you can be a radio DJ, I can go, okay. I know my equipment. I know how to do stuff. So I feel like I got enough training that I can go in any other field.
It's funny because you start to find, as you develop that love for it, like you said, it starts to refine itself, not only as you get more exposed to it, but as you start to see what you're good at. And I always tell people, follow your dreams that you're good at. Don't, a lot of people want to dunk on Michael Jordan, and it probably isn't in the cards for them, or, you know what I mean? So you should find what you're good at, and then find your dreams that crossroads with that, and that's your sweet spot. And that's probably where, they say if it doesn't feel like work, you'll never work a day in your life, whatever. If you love it, that phrase you hear. The point of it is, it shouldn't be like that. It should feel like work, but the work should feel fulfilling, the hard parts, you know what I mean? The same way when you see results from the gym, that's how your entire life should be. We're meant to be productive animals. I mean, if anything, I think this lockdown has shown everybody we are desirous to be productive social people. That dream you hear of, boy, if I was rich, I would just go on an island and sit on the beach every day, and you would hate it. And this is a perfect example why. So what if they said, hey, we're going to give you 6 to 8 weeks if you can just sit at home, you don't have to do anything. People would be like, oh man, that's like being rich, man. I would sit in my mansion and watch TV. Like, no, we want meaning in our lives. And it's interesting how that refines itself. I knew from the first time I did a morning show broadcast, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm good at. This is what I like. And now I'm going to spend the next 27 years trying to refine that skill to see if I can get good at it. And I think probably about 4 years ago is when I finally felt like, oh, okay, I think I got this figured out. And it took about that long. It's about 23 years to finally like nail it down to like, okay, if you put me in a room with no preparation and just a microphone and said, go, I could probably entertain people. The first 23 years were a struggle.
Right. But in that time of those 23 years or however, you gathered so much information and you learned stuff and you watched people and, people gave you advice and you got so much information that like sculpted you to like say, okay, I can be in a room and I can entertain people, right? Yeah,
you learn. Well, it's kind of like when you get good at driving a car, when you first drive that car, man, you are focusing on making the turn signal at the right time. And after a while, those things become so secondary, it's not entering your mind. It's involuntary action. And I can do that whether it's giving out a phone number or if I'm looking something up on the internet while I'm talking about something else at the same time. those types of things help you a lot because it helps you. I may be talking about something, looking up an old movie clip to try and get a soundbite to play at the end of my sentence. And, early on, it's so distracting you can't do it. As time goes on, you're like, oh, I developed that skill. And it helps so much. Let me ask you this. When you first got to the radio station, what was your experience like? What was your expectation? What was your experience? And how did it either exceed or not exceed your expectations?
My expectations were to be like a show that I hear in the morning. Like I would listen to 933 or Z90 or, and I expect to be like, okay, be a morning show and do morning things. And it turned out to be, okay, we're going to do news. And it was like, all right. So we went on CNN and we picked out a couple stories and then we did the CNN news stories. And it was like, okay, that's giving the news instead of it being a morning show. But then there was this option of, oh, you can do a show if you want. And that's when G and I were like, hey, you want to do a morning show together?
That's awesome. That's the best thing. Yeah. And so how was it when you first got in front of that mic? Like, hey, we're going to entertain people. How was that?
I remember the first day we did it. I was a bit nervous, not gonna lie.
Was it live?
But I was excited at the same time because I'm like, okay, there's actually people listening because we air our station over the speakers in the cafeteria of Grossmont. So there's actually kids there listening to what we're saying, and they're listening to music too. So we know and we're aware that okay, even though we're a college radio station, and we're not like Z90 where there's thousands of people listening, but at the same time there's like we have to give it our best, to give it our all.
Because somebody's listening.
I can say that because I worked in a small market, worked in a large market. I would say the difference between being on Grossmont cafeteria and being on Z90, where I think every 15 minutes they say we go through about 60,000 people, which is the size of Qualcomm Stadium. It feels exactly the same because you never really talk to more than one person at a time. So it doesn't feel different, Like to me, it doesn't. I would be just as excited to be talking to 10 million people as I would 100,000 or 10. It all feels exactly the same to me. And I don't know have you guys been on the air on Z90?
No, not yet.
I was on Magic, so Javier put me on air for like 20 seconds.
That's cool. How was that? It's no different, right?
That was fun. I greeted my mom. I said hi to my mom. It was just so random because like I was with the digital team, and then I told them, hey guys, I've never seen your studios, and they were like, let's come in. It was surreal because like yeah, of course that was my first time on the radio, and after that Javier, like he gave me feedback. He's like, Gian, you sound very natural on air, and I like your voice and your tone.
He does.
And I'm like, really? And he was like, yeah, you are. You should definitely try it out and see. You should from promotions to on air personality type of deal there. So Grossmont is pretty much, it's the start of how we learn how to be that personality on the air, and
yeah, it's hard because you want to do the mechanics right and you focus on that, and maybe your personality doesn't get to shine through that, and that's the hard thing between the two, right?
Right.
And you want to give them an exaggerated version of your personality, but not one that's so unappealing they don't want to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to be fake, but at the same time, you want to be charismatic, I guess, in a sense.
Right. That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, I couldn't have put it better. So when you guys want to fill in for me, I'm ready. I'll take some time off.
I heard you guys have a new radio station called Big FM over there, right?
Yeah.
I heard there's no DJs in there.
Nope.
Okay, so we'd be happy to take over.
Do it.
If you want to hire us, we're good.
We'll do the morning show.
Look, here's the thing. Just go in there and do your morning show. And when they come in and like get really mad at you, save the tape. Just make sure you're running tape and just be like, hey, save the tape. Hey, we got fired, but we got a good tape and we're sending it out everywhere. And when they go, how did you guys get started? Go, well, we were interns and we just decided to just be the new morning show on a station that had no jobs.
There you go. Oh my gosh. All right, let's do it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Now, you guys have done radio. You kind of have that figured out. Now you're coming into a radio station as interns. What's that like for you?
I think it's more detail oriented.
Do you remember your first day?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was nervous, but I was excited at the same time because, oh my gosh, I'm in a radio station. That's something that not everyone gets to, say every day. Oh, I worked at a radio station before.
I got excited about all the albums on the wall and all the albums that I recognized. I'm like, oh, it's that one. Oh, I got so excited about it.
That's cool. And so by the end of your first day, what were your thoughts about the experience?
I loved it.
So when you drove away, were you thinking about it?
When I drove away, I wanted to come back.
And why was that?
Well, I just I don't know, with radio stations, TV stations and all that, I think a facility like that, of communications and, with all the technology in there and with all the people working in different departments, it's just so interesting to see and how they work behind the scenes to make a radio station. And so I don't know what it is. It's just that I like to be in an environment where it's hard to describe, but in the world of communications, I just like to be in a studio or in a setting where
you see what's going on.
But at the same time, yeah, there's a lot of people listening or watching that station. You know what I mean?
Were there surprises for you guys that you didn't expect? Oh, I didn't know that happened, or I didn't know this, or you're like, wow, that's different than what I thought. Describe those, if you can remember them.
I didn't know what it was actually like in a radio station, in a professional radio station. I learned about it, and being in Art Griffin Radio 1 is one thing, but coming to 91X and seeing Z90 and Magic 92.5 and seeing the stations, it was so much different. And watching you guys do what you do is so precise. And I didn't know that much detail was in it to produce a show that you guys do. And watching it is so much different than listening. Thank you, Tony, for actually letting me step in and let me sit there and watch him, know what buttons to press or know what songs to play up next, or having cues with you so that way, he knows when to step in and you know when to step in and all that. And like you said, you can pull up a clip while talking at the same time, and it just sounds like you had already pre-planned it and it was sitting there.
The intricate details of all the equipment and every single button. What does it do? How does it do it? How do you formulate a show? How do you produce a show? Because it's easy to just listen to a radio station in your car and say, oh my God, look these people, oh, they have it so easy. All they're doing is talking into a microphone. Well, it's more than just talking into a microphone. It's collaborating with your hosts, your coworkers, and the staff that's there with you.
It's pre-planning. It's giving cues to each other so you know when to talk. It's finding what to talk about and making sure that everybody is on the same page.
I think what people don't realize is how much work that the DJs put into making a show.
Exactly.
And editing it. Like, for example, the phone jibba that you guys do, which I personally enjoy. Oh my gosh, huge fan.
Me too.
But yeah, I heard, from by word of mouth when I interned at the station, is that you guys spend hours. It's not like for the phone jibba, you guys. The editing process takes forever. Is that true?
Well, here's the way it works is a lot of people go, how did you get that person to stay on the phone when you're yelling at them or you're being so crazy or you're doing an accent? And I'll tell the truth is that those phone calls themselves are probably about 15 minutes long and you're hearing 4.5 minutes of it. I've taken out all the boring conversation I've used to massage somebody into being comfortable talking to me, maybe ramp them back down so they're not so worked up and then throw another crazy phrase in there and get them worked back up like, oh, hold on. Take those parts out and compact it. What you're hearing is the essence of that conversation. Sometimes you get lucky and someone's just hot right away. You're like, oh man, don't have to do much editing on that. But there's a lot of other things too. You have to optimize the audio. You have to save the audio.
Yeah.
We archive a version of the raw call in case you ever needed to edit it. we keep a version of the call with no laughing on it. So if we want to go back and change something, we keep a third version of the call that does have the laughter on it with D-Rock and Adina in case you want to play it back. And so it's kind of those keeping the library straight. And then we do a tease for each one. So that's taking a sample of it. So there's a lot to it. I'd say from start to finish, any phone jibba prank is probably about 4 hours worth of work. And we do a new one every day. So for a while there, I was like, wow, man, I got a job and then I got another job on top of it. And that nobody sees because they hear it for 4 minutes on the radio. They don't understand that when someone walks up and goes, dude, I love the phone jibba, I feel like somebody just gave me just the biggest compliment because it's like, man, thank you, because I put a lot of work into it. I needed to hear that. Yeah, that's cool.
Definitely how I feel.
When someone's like, when they hear you on the radio and they go, hey, good job.
Yeah, definitely. Or when some of our friends, they take the time to actually sit down and listen to like our podcasts and stuff. And then they text us or like stuff and they go, hey, it was awesome. I mean, how did you get them to talk about it? It's like a pat in the back. It's like, yeah, all that time I spent editing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard someone say to me, they just came from the cafeteria and they happened to pass by me and they're like, hey, I heard you on air a few minutes ago. And I'm like, oh, you did? Oh, thank you. So it's those little things that really like make us happy and make us continue what we do.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the same thing too. Like people go, I don't want to bug you. It's like, trust me, it's not bugging me if you walk up to me and say hi or want a picture, because it feels so nice to have that affirmation. That's very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you heard anybody do something on the radio that you thought, I don't want to be that person? And you don't have to name anyone. I'm just saying, what's something you've ever heard where you're like, no, that's not me. That's not my style.
I'm guessing like someone who's like maybe doing too much and over exaggerating and being too loud on the radio instead of being like, genuine. I think it's hard to like tell whether it's scripted and like being fake versus someone who's just having a regular conversation. You know what I mean?
Sorry. Or when they like get a little cocky and they're like, oh, I'm much more skilled in this, thought of you know nothing, I know more than you. And it's like,
yeah, did you have that experience going into first of all, was Z90, was that the first radio station you guys had ever been in terms of like professional commercial radio?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been to any other stations?
No,
that local media is the first one.
Were you guys curious about how the radio talent would act? Because you're probably familiar with some of them, thinking, wow, I wonder how they're going to act towards us or how they're going to be.
I mean, you know how they say never meet your hero or celebrity because you'll be treated just as another fan?
Right.
I didn't feel like that going into it, but I felt like I'm an intern. So they won't care what interns do because every couple of months, new interns come in. So why does it matter? And this thought of, oh, I'm starting out as an intern meant, oh, maybe I won't be able to watch the show or go to certain parts of the station because I don't have that authority. Or the thought of they won't be friendly towards me. And not in a bad way, but in a way of they're just busy and they have stuff to do. And interns are there to learn. And more of a interns are there to be seen and not heard kind of a thing. So it's always, oh, I'm here to learn and not be in anybody's way. But at the same time, if I was invited, I would definitely turn that into a learning experience.
Interesting. And how did that square against your experience? That was your expectation or that was your experience?
No, that was my expectation.
And how did that compare to your experience? I'll ask that of both of you.
Well, look what we're doing now. Like, I DM'd you on Instagram, and I said, hey, do you want to come on our podcast? You could have not responded to me or said, no, or said, oh, yeah, I don't remember you. I don't know what you did. But the first thing you said was, of course I remember you, and of course I'll be on your podcast. Like, when I heard that...
That wasn't me. That was someone answering for me. They had to actually call me and give me... I had to go through your Wikipedia to remember, like,
really?
Oh, okay.
One of those interns?
Right.
Which one was she? Draw me a picture. I need a picture. Text me a picture.
Okay.
Like, oh, that crazy broad. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. All right.
No, I was happy. What's funny is I have seen people act like that, what you're saying. I've seen those kinds of things happen. I've had it happen to me. The first person I ever worked with in radio was somebody I had called about 5 years earlier to when I was in high school to make a request when he was the overnight guy. and he was so rude to me and made fun of me and clowned on me and then hung up on me. And not realizing 5 years from then I'd be working right alongside the guy. And now he was the big deal on the station, and I get the job as the dude driving the station vehicle, and I was interning. And he ended up working for me as someone who helped produce my show and was a behind the scenes guy for my show. I never told him, man, you were such a jerk, but I definitely took it as a lesson. It's like, wow, man, I'd never want to be that guy, because it definitely informed the way I thought about him. No matter how nice or professional he was to me, and along the way in all these years, I've seen it happen a lot of times. The people that you end up respecting are the ones that respect everybody, not just some people. And they're the ones that actually are the ones you end up learning from. And so you definitely want to be one of those people, Yeah. Because you're going to meet your share of a-holes. There's no two ways about that.
True that.
And they typically are people that, if they're consistently that way, they're scared that they really don't belong. And so they got to preserve that space. And that's too bad. You see it in Hollywood. You'll see it with A-list celebrities. I've interviewed people that are at the top of the chart.
Oh, yeah.
Top of everything, and they're so difficult. You're like, you know what? You're just doing it to preserve it because you don't think you deserve it. And it's too bad. You'd be shocked. Not speaking of this person being one of those people, but I saw an interview with Brad Pitt once where he's like, doing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was an interesting movie because as an actor, you never lose that fear of, am I relevant? Am I going to work? Am I going to get another job? Am I a loser? And I thought, whoa, if Brad Pitt is saying that you never lose that, then you must never lose it, because he should have lost that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he should be at a point where he's like, I could eat an apple in a Samsung commercial and make $1 million tomorrow. But he still has that fear. So, it's all how you handle it. And you should probably just treat everybody the same because they're all feeling the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's funny. I was actually surprised when you're like, do you remember me? I'm like, yeah, I saw you like 2 weeks ago. What are you talking about? Have you gone missing or why?
It's only been a couple weeks, Sarah.
Yeah. I called you by your first name in the hall. Like, Sarah, what's up? Like, I was like, oh God, is there a rumor I have amnesia or Alzheimer's or something kicking in like I don't know about?
Oh my.
Yeah. No, of course I did. Yeah. It's funny when something makes you laugh. It makes you laugh for a while. I think you laugh at something and then you ruminate on it, and it makes you laugh more. It's funny.
Oh yeah, I make her laugh all the time.
Do you guys?
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
That's a valuable chemistry that you guys have. That's good. Adina's that way. I often, from the day we met, I've been cracking her up, and it's good. I was like, wow, this is a valuable chemistry we have because we really do like each other. We are that way. I mean, we scream at each other too. So it truly is a brother and sister relationship. I'm positive that people in the hallways, where you can easily hear through those doors, have heard the shouting matches we've had. And I'm like, well, that's just part of our family bond relationship. That's just how it is. So
in that sense of like a brother-sister relationship, do you sometimes like do that on purpose because it'll like push her buttons and you want to get something out of her? Or does it like come accidentally? No, I've never done it on purpose. We have a rule on our show, and the rule is this, that if you're truly upset about something, at someone, if they've done something that makes you mad, don't passively aggressively push their buttons on the air for that reason, or don't kind of suggest that you're mad about it. And the reason for that is, being on the radio, you have to have some safety in knowing that the other person is looking out for you. If you feel like that person who's on the air with you is truly waiting to take you down, you will close up and you won't have any more natural reactions because you're on defense. Right. So in order for us all to have offense on the air, which means you're saying what you mean, what you feel, what you think, you can't be worried that what that person just said about you isn't for the sake of entertainment. If they're teasing you or putting you down. We tease Adina a lot. The fact is she's very intelligent. She's really funny. I truly love her. And we have had arguments, and they're real arguments. But if I say I'm upset about something, I'm never really, really upset about it because those conversations we would have in private, because that's only fair. And I don't want people on the air in the back of their head thinking, is there more to this? I'm going to hear about it later. Is this really something more than I know? Or am I about to get thrown under the bus and I don't know it? You have to feel safe. And it's my job to make everybody on the air feel like, hey, not only are you safe with me, anybody else who comes at you from the hallways, anybody who's online coming at you, I've got your back. We're the Avengers here, so don't worry about it. We're all together. You know what I mean? And, yeah. And so we have that rule in place for that reason. And so that's why when those
screaming matches happen. It's truly difference of opinion, and she feels empowered to talk back that way because you have to. You know what I mean? You have to be able to talk freely or else you go nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys feel that way when you're on the air? Like, okay, well, I know this person's not trying to throw me under the bus.
Oh, definitely. I don't know about you, G, but I trust you 100%, and I know that, we agree on stuff. He's
like, you're a savage, Sarah. What are you talking about?
She is. No, I really like our chemistry between the two of us, and I think it's a perfect match for us to have our own show on the radio. And I'm just glad and I'm thankful that I have Sarah as my best friend because, she I don't know, she really means a lot to me. And I love how we are able to do this, and make it happen in a natural way instead of faking it on air and pretending like, we're just doing a show, whatever.
I've done one of those shows where you're with people you don't really like.
Really?
And it's a struggle. And I won't go.
How do you handle that?
You just here's what ends up happening. You have a series of people who end up not being curious about each other. And so you end up it's two people talking at a listener instead of two people talking to each other and including the listener. And those are two totally different things. And people subconsciously, whether you want to admit it or not, can sense whether or not you truly like the person you're talking to. They will know it. You just know it. When you see a married couple and you are around them for a while, you can go, oh, they're not going to make it, or oh, they're going to make it. And the reason for that is because you can truly tell deep down if someone has heartfelt feelings for someone.
Right.
And I made the mistake early in my career thinking it was all about the takedown and the put down and the fights and all that, thinking, oh yeah, I want the drama and I want to be a badass, and realizing like, oh, that is the opposite. Why would anybody want to spend time with that every day? I don't want that. I want to be around people that feel loved by me. So that way when I do a put down or tease them, it's the way your sister or brother would do it. They got your back, but it's pretty funny that they burned you. Instead of a put down or a slam, it's more of a burn. And burning each other is fun. It's fun to burn people when you love them and stuff because, man, those are the best.
In a family way, yeah, definitely.
Whenever I screw up on a word, because I rarely do, man, do those guys laugh. I mean, they laugh so hard. And I'm like, laugh it up, live it up, because it doesn't happen that often. And, oh, they are dying. Like, oh, look at that. Mr. Perfect. Look out. I would think the single strength of Morton in the Morning is the fact that any one person at any point in time can screw up and know for a fact that the other three are going to gang up on them and take them down. As in a friendly way, Yeah. The way real friends do when somebody screws up or something. It's like, oh, here it comes. Look out. Yeah.
So speaking about this, do you remember your first day of working with Adina and DJ and Rock?
And D-Rock. And Adina.
D-Rock. And Tony and Adina, do you remember your first day with them?
Yeah, Adina, my first day with Adina, it's funny, the first couple years, she was really, really bad at radio. Really bad.
Really?
Yeah, she was really stiff, really uptight. She couldn't spell a lot of the names. She was screening calls for me, so she couldn't spell a lot of the names that people had. And she had a little whiteboard she would write them on. And so it was really painful. And I think something just happened. I think one day she just decided, forget it, screw it. I'm just going to just be myself. I'm done trying to be perfect. And that's when I was like, wow, she really got something here because she is unique. She is definitely opinionated in a way that nobody else is. Whether her opinions are wrong or right, she states them strongly and feels them strongly. Wow, this person's really unique. She has a great story. And so that's when I really remember starting to work with her. The first day I met her, she walked up to me at a Boise State football rally and said, oh, I want to be on the radio. And I was like, yeah, everybody says that. A few people, right? A bunch of people will say that, but they're not willing to show up at 5 a.m. And she did. I forgot she was going to show up, and she got to the station. It's 5 a.m. I'm like, oh, hey, all right, well, let's see how long this lasts. And for 2 years she did, for free, every day.
Wow.
As a full-time student, had a job, and wrote for their newspaper as well. And so, she definitely earned it. That's why I was looking forward to working with her again, because I moved back here, and she didn't come with me. So it took almost 2.5 years for her to get back and start working with. And it was good.
Wow.
And so I think about that a lot, yeah. I don't know, it's funny. And you guys will find this through your career. Everything seems like tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to get better. Tomorrow will be really good. And you start looking back over all that time. You're like, wow, man, we've been doing this for a minute. This is crazy. Or you'll hear an old bit or something and go, oh my God, I forgot about that. oh, that's funny. So, yeah. D-Rock came into me one day because I had a producer that quit, because when I got to Z90, we had a producer who was a really great guy, but he kept telling me, well, the way we always did it, and I finally had to say, well, the way we do it now is different. And so we didn't gel. And so D-Rock said, I'll do it. I said, okay. So he got in there, and he was occasionally make a wisecrack. I thought, oh, this guy's funny. I like this guy. And I try and pick people that I could picture myself being around if we weren't on the air.
Yeah.
Because I know if we would do that, then it'll be fine on the air, because we're going to naturally like talking to each other. Maybe you guys can back this up. If you see us in the hallway or sitting in our office, it's exactly the same as listening to our show. You could tape record it and it would be a segment.
Absolutely.
That's just who we are.
Definitely.
How we are.
Definitely.
Yeah. And Tony, I saw Tony backstage at one of our music festival shows, Taco Fest. And he was just like hustling and eating snacks the whole time and like hustling. And I thought, who is this guy, man? This guy's like, he never sits still. I think I want this guy for producers. What's he doing? They're like, oh, he works street team for the station. I'm like, oh man, do you want to be on the air? He's like, heck yeah. I'm like, cool, this is good. So it was always people, when I think about the first time I saw them and then got to know them, I would do a little trick. I would have them go in the producer's room and hang with the other two and just kind of watch and see how off the air, when they just hung out, how they were. And I could just see chemistry between all those guys all the time. The first 10 minutes D-Rock and Adina hung out, they were dying laughing, and they didn't even know each other. I thought, oh yeah, we're good. They're good. They get each other. This is good. Same with Tony. He came in there. He was cracking on Adina. She was calling him R2-D2 because he's so short. So he's like, okay, Chewbacca. I'm like, yeah, these guys are going to be fine. This is going to go good.
Oh my.
So I was lucky in that respect. A lot of people never find that. A lot of people work decades in this business and never find that.
So I guess it just comes out naturally then. You just, you find it, in people that you meet, and you're like, okay, we can make a connection here. Let's see what happens.
Yes. If you find someone that truly entertains you and you find you entertain them, it may not be funny to the world. However, if you apply some discipline to what you're doing, you'll find your audience. They'll find you and they'll be fanatic. And that's really the goal, because you'll have a good time doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're having a good time doing it, then it kind of doesn't matter that when you're in the studio together, it doesn't matter if anybody's listening, because you're sitting there and you're having a good time and you're with your friends and you're having a conversation. And even though you're being recorded and people are listening, it doesn't feel like people are listening, and you don't care if people are listening because you're in the same room with people who get you and you can laugh with and joke with.
Right, and then you're in the moment.
Yeah. If you're applying proper discipline to what you're doing by not going too deep on a topic where you're making each other laugh and nobody, too inside. If you're saying something that you feel may be relevant to everybody, then you're like, okay, I think this resonates. Like the other day I did a topic and I thought, I know the people on the show will laugh at this, and I think this topic will be relevant to everybody. We were talking about how inside you convince yourself when you see a UPS truck or a FedEx stop anywhere near your house, you convince yourself that you forgot about something you bought and they're coming to bring you your surprise. Then when they get back in the truck and drive away, you're like, nope, I guess I really did remember correctly. I haven't bought anything. You see that truck, you're like, did I buy something and forgot? What is this? What could it be? And D-Rock and Adina, they're laughing like, oh my God, yeah, you see that truck, you're like, oh, what am I going to get? And then you're like, oh, that's right, I didn't buy anything. Dang, I thought maybe I just forgot. So, just that type of stuff. So you have to apply a discipline to it and then hope it all works out. And when it works out, it goes really well. It's like the greatest feeling in the world.
It's like magic.
It's like magic. I'm sure you guys have shows and you get off the air and you're like, man, we were on a good one today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some days you do it and you're like, wow, I don't know what happened, but it just wasn't sticking today. I don't know why.
Yeah, we all have our good days and bad days. But like once the on-air recording light goes on, we become professional and, we become ourselves.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's cool, man.
Of course. Thank you for being here and being
Definitely.
On the podcast with us.
I hope I didn't bore you.
Oh, no. This was so much fun.
I'll know if it was boring if I listen to the podcast and it's like an hour long and like, Rick's on with us for the first 5 minutes of our podcast. Like, it's Rick from Morton in the Morning. Here he is. And there you go. I was like, oh, well.
Hey, Rick, I have one more question for you. So what is your advice for someone who wants to get into the radio industry?
I would say, okay, here's the skills. You don't need a college degree, right? There's 3 things you can do that will guarantee you're going to be a success. 1, get inside the door of a radio station. Doesn't matter. That's the biggest thing. Get an internship, drive the truck, be a secretary, whatever it takes. That's the first thing. 2, learn to be a good storyteller. Learn to tell stories, because that'll inform everything else you do on the air. Because if you're doing a news story or you're doing a prank call or anything, it's all about the story. The beginning, the exposition, the climax, the finale. That's every radio bit you do. It doesn't matter what it is. You want that. So be good at that. Have a sensitivity to good storytelling. 3, have an attitude that you're willing to do anything at any point in time and then be there extra. Meaning, where are you hanging out? You got to get out of here. Oh, I just wanted to learn. Ask to learn. You'll find the people that will teach you. If you do those 3 things, you hang out there, learn as much as you can, there's going to come a time when they're like, well, gosh, this person really wants it. And they're really good at storytelling. You're already in the building. You have just leapfrogged everybody out there who's like, yeah, I think I might try radio. It's like, no, it's not that simple. It's all about relationships, 100% about relationships. You're going to get picked if you're known and you look like you want to work hard.
Exactly. Yeah. And networking and making connections and Yeah. Like what you said. Perfect. Yeah. Is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to while we're here?
Yes. I want to shout out all the students at Grossmont. What's up?
Yes.
What is the Grossmont mascot?
A griffin.
A griffin?
A griffin, yeah.
Is that from like Lord of the Rings or what is a griffin?
Kind of.
I think so.
I've seen that on like really nice towels at this hotel I was at. So that's awesome. It's the Ritz-Carlton, right? That's what I think it is. Thanks for Ritz-Carlton mascot. Well, hey, Griffins, keep studying and keep having all right. Shout out. What up, yo? Thank you guys, really, though. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I enjoyed it.
No, thank you for coming on and taking the time to do it with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. And it was just great talking to you. And I loved it. I had so much fun. I hope you guys did too.
You guys know you're welcome to come and hang out with the show anytime. Anytime doors open.
Even if we're not interns anymore?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. No big deal. You can watch Tony get yelled at. It'll be fun.
Oh, wow. That'll be something to watch. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below if you've made it this far in our podcast. If you did, thank you so much for listening. These are our social media pages. So on Instagram, you can follow us on Griffin Radio SD. It's at Griffin Radio SD. On Facebook, we have a Facebook profile called Griffin Radio SD. We also have a Facebook page as well called Griffin Radio. On Twitter, you can follow us at G_Radio SD. Again, that's G_Radio SD. We are also back on the TuneIn app. Yay! And so you can listen to us there. All of our programming on there is recorded and not live, just to let you guys know. But we are still streaming music on there as well. And we are now back on there. And if you want to contact us, feel free to do so at gradiostation119@gmail.com. And our official website is www.grossmont.edu/griffinradio. If you go on our website, you'll be immediately directed to this YouTube channel. All right, so that should do it for now.
And guys, don't forget to give a little love to our special guest. You can follow Hey Morton on Instagram, and make sure you follow their YouTube channel. They have a bunch of cool stuff on there. So guys, give a little love, follow them, follow us. We're now following each other. So guys, check it out, see what's up, and we'll see you all next week.
All right, well, have a great night, and thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye guys, sign out.